Labrador Retrievers are renowned for being fun, loving and easy to train. But what about an old Labrador found as a stray who is awful on the lead and miserable to walk? Can these old dogs learn new tricks, or is this a Labrador that will never be rehomed due to his terrible lead manners? So we're back working with our adorable Chocolate Labrador, the Chocolate Labrador that in our first session we discovered has zero rules, boundaries and expectations in his life and quite excessive marking type behaviours. So in that initial session we used that to kind of figure out where we're at with him, learn as much about him in as short amount of time as possible to then formulate a plan. And it was one of those straightforward ones. It was interesting because this session came straight off the back of probably the most difficult session with Shadow the White German Shepherd that has been the most complex case I've ever dealt with, into this case which is quite a straightforward one. So going into it, I knew that absolutely all we need to do is put some rules, boundaries and expectations in. His biggest issue is around pulling. His walking on a lead is absolutely awful, and he's a big, strong Labrador, so people are put off by him. If people want to come and look at rehoming him, they're going to take him for a walk. He's really strong. He makes walking miserable, and because he's a little bit older, he hasn't got that cute factor that is really helpful for dogs in shelters. People are skipping over him and looking at other ones. So I wanted to address getting him to walk nicely was my number one priority, then build that better engagement so he's not constantly distracted, following his nose and wanting to mark everything, and then this is a dog that's ready to be rehomed, no problem whatsoever. So threw on a slip lead and we did my heel walk tune up. It's just about direction changes, letting him know that whenever he decides to go in a direction that he chooses, I choose and move in completely the opposite way. He starts to build up that picture of every time he goes past my threshold and he starts to make decisions for himself, I instantly come in and change that with a directional change. Whenever he drops in nicely by my side, I reinforce that with good boy, yes, and you can use food rewards. In this case, I didn't want to use any food rewards. He does have obedience established, but it's definitely the obedience in forms of bribery-based obedience where he'll do something, take the food and then instantly go back, and he's only doing it for the food. I wanted him to get to the point where he understands that he's doing it because I'm asking him to. When he gets to that point, then I'll start to reintroduce reinforcement. But for right now, nothing more than verbal praise to let him know when he's doing a good job, and directional changes to kind of break that habit of him deciding wherever he wants to go. Same principle for when he's displaying any kind of marking behaviours. He's smelling too much, following his scent too much, pulling to try and get to something to mark up, directional change. And we're just adding that in with calm, consistent leadership. Stopping, starting, adding some sit, adding some stay. It's all about that tune up. This is where having a little bit of basic obedience can make these cases wonderful. And 5-10 minutes of this and we got our gorgeous Labrador to a point where he was walking like an absolute dream. He was then becoming incredibly responsive. He then stopped focusing and obsessing with following his nose and started to direct that gaze up to myself, looking to myself for guidance and direction. Then we started to make it much more fun, adding in some more obedience and making it a more fun, positive experience for him. And it was all she wrote, really. It wasn't rocket science. There was not much more to it than that. We got him from miserable to walk with zero engagement to doing some basic approaches of implementing my theories of calm, consistent leadership and high expectations and enforcing those expectations with calm consistency to a dog that was then a joy to walk, beautifully to heel, and was looking up to me and following my guidance and direction. That is now a dog that will make a wonderful companion for the rest of his life if people just can pick that dog up, maintain the work and that little bit of rehabilitation that I've put in place, be his calm, consistent leader, and what a wonderful dog that will bring joy to whoever he goes home to.